Last slide.
Yes. On and off, like 4 years, but more officially.
The question is how you guys find this event? So which social media or
For me, it was the WhatsApp group.
WhatsApp group.
What is on today on Sunday?
or what's in Chiang Mai?
Chiang Mai today.
Chiang Mai today, can I join? Facebook. Is it forces Facebook or she's
First community.
Guys, if you're not already in the WhatsApp group for the longevity project at Wellness, it's 5 4 6 hello. Welcome to grab this QR and jump right in.
this is our forces scientific group. Events happening here in the castle.
So what I want to do, it's a different evolutionary. It's a different and there's all the activities for the day. And you guys are here.
That would be great.
Yeah, I think you have to follow this kind of structure if you just want to score the movie. I'm not going to do it.
We'll be starting in just a second. In the meantime, my invitation is to reflect on what brought you here today, what questions you might have, what you would like to get from today. And once you've got an idea of where you're ready, you can feel to share with your neighbour, find out their name, make our world a little smaller. But if you feel just to sit quietly, that's also perfect. Not sure if you can see that. I think if the screen doesn't work, I can just
One of my friends who
I've done this presentation as best as it's okay. It would be nice if we had a screen, but we would survive. Hello, welcome. Hi, welcome. So while we're waiting, if you feel to, just reflect. What brought you here today? What was your curiosity today? What would you, if it really worked for you, what would you like to leave with, knowing or being able to experience? What questions do you have? And if you feel to, check in with your neighbour, say hello, make the world a little smaller, share your questions and curiosities. While we're waiting, we can do that together. It might be that it's a very somatic and not a digital experience. We might not have the screen. One of the issues with the material world is it's imperfect, just like us. So, I'm Jamie. Really nice to meet you. I know Karen from Yoga in the Park. At least this is the first time we've met in body. So that's really nice. Welcome. So while we're waiting to see if we get the screen, this presentation or this webinar, well, not webinar, sorry, I think webinars, this workshop will be an experiential workshop on psychosomatic processing, which basically means exploring the relationship of the body and mind and how to process emotions. We're all processing emotions all the time, so I guess in a way it's how we do that in a way that is maybe more effective or new ways we might learn. Maybe some emotions we process really easily, some emotions are a little trickier, right? We don't prefer those emotional states so much. What I want you to experience is just feel a little easier with some of these difficult states. And even, perhaps, a sense of alchemy that actually being with the more difficult states, which maybe drain our energy, even if we're not conscious of them, because we're pushing them back all the time, even not consciously. It kind of drains our energy, we might just feel a bit more relaxed and more pleasant experience. That's the idea. So I'm really curious about what brought you here today. Everyone would like to share and just say their name so everyone can hear. And we'll just do a little experiment where if you say your name, everyone just says their name back to them with a little wave. So I'm Jamie. Well, I'm here today because I'm passionate about this subject and it's my work and it's been, I guess, the main focus of my life. I'd love to share. What about you guys? Would you like to share what brought you?
I'm Karen.
Hey, Karen.
We took a message some weeks ago, and he's one of the people of my teacher. The teacher that he really want to organize the teacher in English class. And Jenny, he is the expert in many aspects, psychology, yoga, and he be a teacher.
Well, I wouldn't say expert, but what I would love to hear, Karen, is why
Because
you're
I used to
here.
study psychology as my master's degree. So I did 1 year for children therapists. So I'm curious about, because I use psychology, the yoga, meditation, qigong, to heal myself and explore myself first, okay, then help others. So I'm very curious about you two people who do psychology, yoga, and maybe these things.
Thank you. Nice to hear your presence.
Yeah, and I want to meet you here. They have before the park.
That's very nice. I'm glad you came. And yet this type of psychotherapy, in a way, one of the earliest books was called Eastern Body, Western Mind, which is firstly recognizing the relationship between body and mind. We're not these minds that also walk around the body, they're always in dynamic. If we feel angry, how does feeling angry feel? What's the feeling? Maybe a heat rising, maybe a sense of personal power, could be, depending on what angry scores or better scores. Anyone else like to share why they're here, and the curiosities they have, what the name is?
Raised with a culture in a family system that trains us to suppress emotions. So basically, there are certain things that you're allowed to express, and those things that you're not allowed to express
emotions are like, yeah, great, you can express those. And other emotions you're not supposed to express. In Western culture, broadly, often men find it easier to express joy and anger, but not so much grief or fear. Often women's anger has been less acceptable in Western culture. This is all changing, and I think men are exploring more that full palette of emotions, and so are women. But there are definitely cultural restrictions on what we're allowed to show. Perhaps this international kind of environment that we're in, perhaps, I don't know, maybe we're exploring a little bit what's possible. Okay.
Technology involves hardware.
Yeah. Okay. So, what to expect is we're going to learn how to create emotions. Sorry, how to recreate emotions, and how we process emotions in the body and mind more effectively. Wow. 14. Thank you. We're going to look at what are emotions. We all have emotions, but what actually are they? What's their evolutionary purpose? You know, our hands, our feet, our eyes, these all evolved. You know, so did our psyches. So what's our emotions for? And we're going to look at two quite profound and science-based approaches to having a happier experience, body and mind, just feeling a bit happier, which is probably we all want. We're going to do some practical exercises, and it's going to be a couple of brief meditations where we will explore these two. I wonder how many people have heard of internal family system, which is one of the two things. Okay, lovely, so quite a lot. I'll explain more in a second. How many people have heard of sensorimotor psychotherapy? How many people have heard of somatic experiencing? Many more people. It's a much sexier, cooler name. Sensorimotor sounds like it's going to be done by someone on a lab coat. It's actually more science-based, and I think probably more effective. It doesn't sound very good, but it comes from the same kind of school of what they call second wave psychotherapy. We're going to do some pair and group work. If you are feeling in a space where you only want to sit, take notes quietly, not really interact, totally cool, you do you, give yourself permission to do that. The group gives permission, it's your permission, especially. So if someone wants to engage with you during a group activity, just be honest. You can have a little takeaway toolkit, hopefully, where you'll be able to do some practical things in your lives. A little bit about me. I'm a sensorimotor psychotherapy practitioner. I'm an IFS and trauma-informed coach. The trauma-informed part comes from sensorimotor. I'm studying psychosynthesis psychotherapy. I'm not finished with my first year. And my background, I studied with a shaman and psychologist for 7 years in Brazil, and I worked with somatic plant medicine integration as well. My background before that was quite sort of jumbled before I guess I found my passion. I was in education, law, and I used to work for homeless organizations. The big issue, everyone knows the big issue. What is an emotion? Yes. So, please say your name before you.
Shahan.
Shahan.
And actually, I used to think about what I thought about this emotion. Every one of them has like a purpose of how we manage in the society structure. And I can see like every one of them like really like has a specific purpose about how to make us handle our interactions with people.
So like almost like a feedback from the individual to the tribe.
Yeah. For different situations, like what you need in different situations, how you can express that to make certain expressions about.
So it's almost like it helps us communicate to others.
Yeah. Pushing us to be.
That's good. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Shahan. Anyone else?
I'm Steph.
Hi, Steph.
Kind of to piggyback off of that, also like I see it as
like a value thing that helps us kind of sort experience into categories. Ice cream is enjoyable, snakes are scary, or all the other way around.
It's a physical experience with something. So the experience of standing up and meditation, getting into a martial art activity, something like that. Might have some feeling of energy, excitement, really raising up the wall.
Interesting. Yeah, some emotions are really quite close, fear and excitement, and that's really so akin, right? So it was saying it's almost something that helps us assign meaning to experience, and that's really, I think, right. And what evolution, there's a wonderful book by Hartley called Why Buddhism is True, and it's an evolutionary psychology analysis of Buddhism. And it talks a lot about emotions and the neural development of the brain. And it turns out that much of what Buddha discovered is now being measurable in Western science, neuroscience. But one of the key things that they believe about emotions, and it's all still slightly mysterious, if you're thinking about our subjective worlds, is that emotions are a kind of wrapping for data. Something happens, and like different people say, an emotion will help wrap around that, so when we digest it, it kind of tells us one, how important it is, and two, what to do with it. So for example, if a bus is turning towards you, you've got this fear kind of wrapping, it tells you this is urgent. It's much more urgent than wondering what to get your friend for Christmas. So it helps you act appropriately. So emotions are, what does this tell us about emotions? They're helping us tell us what's important. What conclusions might we draw from the fact that we have emotions and they're playing this role in helping us prioritize?
They're necessary.
Just they're necessary. Survival, not just survival. They also help us communicate and share experience, like Samar said as well, because we can talk about, we all have similar emotions. But one of the other key things, this is rather difficult to see, we might get there eventually. I'll see if someone, I can grab something to go on in a second. This is a book by a professor called Feldman. She's written a book called Why Emotions Are Made. And again, this is very cutting edge neuroscience, and it's basically saying that emotions are created by us in order to, by our bodies, in order to inform our decision-making parts, what to do. And so emotions are actually, although my sadness and Sahara's sadness might feel a bit similar enough that he might recognize I'm feeling sad by my tone of voice, or if I describe a situation, he might go, I will probably make you sad, Jamie. But actually, our emotions are completely unique to us and are unique each time. So the sadness I might feel about my relationship with my dad was very difficult for decades. It's now good, so I think change can happen. But it used to make me feel sad, angry sometimes, scared sometimes. So, but the flavour of that was slightly different each day. So today's sadness or happiness is slightly different. It's very similar, but it's slightly different. And I think what this can tell us is that the appropriate attitude towards emotions is curiosity. Because although we might be having some experience that feels like sadness, or oh, this feels kind of like anger, it's actually kind of unique. It's unique information because it's kind of, we're in a unique interface with all that's happened before and all that's happening now in every moment. So our emotions are actually kind of process that, respond to that. So if we can be curious, we can get the most accurate reading of how we feel about things and what's going on. Whether we really want that job, whether we want to go to that party, whether we want to be in a relationship with that person, whether we want to go and ask that person for a date. listen carefully. One of the problems can be is sometimes we have like somatic fossils. So we might have a memory from the past. So it might be that someone had a really bad experience with men with beards, and I've got a beard and that beard a little bit hairy. It's real, it's important that they remember that and understand and process that emotion. It doesn't quite belong in this situation. So we need a little kind of sorting of consciousness to help us acknowledge our present emotional experience and to help sort it from the experiences of the past. But what can often happen in the case of trauma is our whole system. We might have something like complex CPTSD, which is complex post-traumatic, where there was such a lack of safety in my childhood environment. They were always just operating above baseline, just always like a little bit, alone. I just still sometimes have parts that I need to kind of put into my system completely. Or we might have had a terrible shock. My friend he's my age, he was bitten by a rabbit when he was 3. He's still scared of rabbits. They're not, objectively, they're not dangerous, really, rabbits. But, thank you, Zeke. This is Zeke. Hi, Zeke. But if we can learn to understand, gosh, I'm really scared of going on this date, but actually this person seems nice. We might start to realize we're kind of afraid of intimacy, for example. So maybe intimacy is really intense or including danger or something like that for your kids. So helping process our emotions. Sometimes we need support to be able to do that, especially difficult, scary emotions, especially emotions where we were too young to properly understand them, and they're just in our bodies. It's just part of our geology of our bodies. And this is where sensorimotor comes in. I'm saying what contract is more, but it's essentially that you can understand everything that's happening, but that it can still be there in the body. You can totally understand the narrative, and I'm really worried about money because the fridge was always empty when I was a kid. So I'm really trying to always make sure I get money. Every conversation I have, I'm trying to turn it into a money-making experience, opportunity, something like that. So that would be someone who is responding to a really old imprint. That doesn't quite belong now. It maybe gets in the way of relationships and so on. But it's an important thing for them to experience in an appropriate way so they can come to more balance. So we use sensorimotor to help process emotions that didn't quite complete. And it could be also emotions that we experienced when we were too young to have any idea of actually what happened. Maybe we were less than 3, we were left alone for too long, as kids. And so we just felt unsettled. Well, I'm not supported. If I express my needs, you are coming, for example, that won't be met. We don't really know where that comes from. We just have a kind of a deep sense of maybe loneliness or something, hard to reach. We might drink in order to not feel that feeling. So sensorimotor would go into the felt experience so you can get more body understanding. The thing about emotions is they always move. Sometimes they might feel stuck for quite a while, but they start to move because they are energy, they are processes. As we spoke about, they are signals for us to do something. Hopefully that makes a bit of sense. And that will be a short meditation. And I'm going to introduce a couple of tools that just help us down-regulate our nervous system. So we have 2 nervous systems. Does anyone know what they're called? 2 types of nervous systems, I'm sure many. Sympathetic and parasympathetic. Fight, flight, or freeze. And rest, restore, digest. When we are safe, and digest includes experience. We can digest experience. We can metabolize what happened that day. We feel safe. So hopefully it's not so hot that you're going to fall asleep. But this meditation. Quite short. Just invite you to just feel a little support on the ground. There's a little sense that your frame is supporting your body, that your structure is supporting your soft parts, that your spine is relatively straight where it curves around around the bottom, relatively straight where it meets the back of your skull. And if it feels okay for you, just noticing you can close your eyes at any point during this meditation. Just noticing the feel of the air firstly on your skin, the temperature of the air at different parts of your skin. Maybe it's different in different places. Noticing where your awareness of temperature is. Noticing any fluctuations in the air, maybe different in different parts of your body, parts of the exposed, parts of the covered. Then just coming to your breath. Noticing just how your breath is right now, just the nature of it, like a wave changing. And so you can just bring a bit of curiosity. And when you're breathing, just want you to see if you can use the breath as a tool of investigation. Takes you inside your body. So that the deeper you breathe, the deeper you can go. Surgical tool. I'd like you to see if you can imagine gravity is about 3 to 5% stronger. Just getting more of a sense of rootedness in the ground. Body's a little heavier. Refreshed and hang a little softer around the shoulders. Acknowledging that your brain, although it's full of ideas and concepts and memories, is also physical. Seeing if you can bring a little tension, a little less tension into your jaw, lips, tongue. And if it feels good, taking a nice deep breath, letting out an audible sigh. When we sing, when we sigh, we activate the vagus nerve, which takes us to parasympathetic rest, restore, digest. So we might take the longest breath today before a sigh, roughly the same time. Let's try one more. Noticing with breath, is there any impact on it? Now we introduce a second tool, which is just using the breath again to take us from fight, flight, freeze, to rest, restore, digest. And we do that simply by extending the out breath. Breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth or nose, and breathing out for longer than you breathe in. We can start with maybe 3 seconds, out for about 5 or 6. Numbers are maybe it's 4, maybe 4 out for 8. And you might find that as you do that, making movements with the neck, using your breath like a hydraulic. So when you breathe in, that's how your neck moves. You can move your body, your neck. Just know it's like the expensive, like the volume control of an expensive stereo. It's really like slow, heavy, and random. Few more cycles of these in-out breaths. I invite you, if it feels good, to place your hands on your belly, left over right, whatever way your belly and hand lean, and the warmth of your other hand favors that. I want to see, you can notice your diaphragm. When you're breathing in really deeply, hopefully it's your diaphragm that's expanding. You notice a baby sleeping, it's almost their belly that moves up and down. As adults, we think often breathing is in the chest. Most of it takes place in the diaphragm, about 60% of the capacity to oxygen in our cells. So just noticing the rise and fall, the tidal ins and outs of the breath. In and then a nice long out breath. The vagus nerve runs from the center of the brain, on each side, down through the torso, down the neck, into the groin on each side. Perhaps you can feel a subtle awareness of physiological circuit. So continue these nice deep breaths. The next breath will ask you to ask yourself a question. Allow the body to answer. Just allow, almost like you're standing in a landscape, calling out into a canyon and you're waiting for an echo. The question is simply, how are you? So the breath can be a question. The breath can be asking, how are you? How are you? Just letting the body answer. And it might be that there are mind thinking parts coming up with ideas and memories and things, and that's it. That's perfectly fine. I wonder if it's possible to experience a thought that comes across the mind as originating in feeling. And the energy of the thought can be felt. How are you? How are you? The 5 primary emotions are mad, bad, sad, glad, fear. Mad, I'm angry, I don't know what I wanted. I wanted lunch. My favorite restaurant is closed. Glad, I wanted this thing to happen every day, but happen. Sad, I'm sad that I lost something. Bad, I did something wrong and I feel guilty. Or bad, I am something wrong and I feel shame. I'm fear. Bad, sad, bad, fear. I'm afraid something important to me will be lost. So just starting to know any emotions, you might feel separate. Noticing what's there. Seeing it as a way, a little bit more than usual perhaps, to allow whatever is there to be there. With your breath, with your slowness, your holding. A little bit more today than usual. Just a little more. Starting to notice sounds in this room more consciously, start with the breath, my voice, doing things in this big space, maybe sounds beyond breathing. Starting to notice the light coming through your eyelids. When you're ready, open your eyes, and it feels good. Your legs, and squeeze, and your hands a little squeeze. Just noticing how you feel. And if it feels comfortable to ask your partner, how are you? Just share a little bit what you felt. If that feels good. If it doesn't, that's also okay. Partner, maybe just someone sitting next to you. It's sleeping. It's sleepiness that sometimes you get kind of mask for other emotions. Sometimes it's just sleepiness. Sometimes it can be a kind of mask. Okay. It might not have felt like quite long enough, if that's the case, I'm sorry. Maybe you continue conversing with someone later on. Wondering how you're all feeling, from a kind of just totally fantastic to terrible to somewhere in between. All feelings are welcome.
Neutral, nervous. What does mean nervous? Fear is nervous?
It could be, but we can also, I think one of the things is simultaneous experience. We could be like, gosh, I'm really scared about, this thing, but actually, I wonder why I'm so scared.
So maybe the terrible is the measure of acceptance of the emotion. Maybe that's the
Yeah, that's actually a really nice, thank you. It's a really nice segue into internal family systems. So one of the things we're going to talk about with the meditation at the end so you can explore your own parts is again something that has come out with both neuroscience and observation and actually really matches a lot of Eastern philosophy, for example, Buddhism, some aspects of Indian philosophy about which I know less than Buddhism. But it's the idea that we are all multiple. You've probably heard and seen movies maybe about people with multiple personality disorder. They're like this, and then they're like this, and one of the parts is really dangerous. Well, this is true, but what those people have is they don't have a center that they come back to. They don't know, when they turn into a lizard in moonlight. They don't know that. They just become that. They don't have a part that is able to go, oh wow, I was really excited with this person, or with this person I was really shy. There's no central kind of place that can go, oh, yeah, I was really nervous with this person. That's interesting. But with this person, who I also don't know, I felt really relaxed. I don't know why. So we all are multiple. And again, Buddhism and neuroscience support this. The most recent, and it's not, we don't know for certain. No, but this is quite certain, which means we can explore. We can explore our own experience. But one of the findings in recent neuroscience is we have a modular mind. In other words, we adapt. I'm quite a little bit different now I'm more focused on the group now than I am my own personal process. So I'm adapting now to this situation. You might be adapting a little. You might have like a student partner, so like a big ego, time for a big ego. Or you might have a disconnected part who's talking too much, or whatever these parts are. So we all have different adaptations. We're using different circumstances. You're probably different with your children or your friends' children than you might be with a colleague or when you're doing work. A police officer is going to be really different at work than they are with their children or their friends on the street. We are modular. We're much more like a piano player standing before a keyboard. We might often play the same tunes. You ever get that feeling where you're around there just feel like I'm playing this old tune? Sometimes that's when we become aware of habits that feel a bit stuck, don't work anymore. But the point is, we are not the keyboard, we are the piano player. We're not even the song. We're not the song. play songs, we can adapt, we can change, we can start to play differently. We might start to play up high on the keyboard that we never used to. We might introduce some bass notes. We can change and we can choose. And this in IFS is called the self. And the old model of psychology was that if people had tremendously traumatic childhood, they would not have a stable sense of self. It just wouldn't happen. We wouldn't have that. In other words, we learn to be compassionate, we learn to be centered, we learn to be kind. What Richard Schwartz, who's the creator of internal family systems, discovered, and I'll explain a little bit more about the model later, some more of an introduction, is that even people with the most terrible traumatic childhoods, in other words, both their caregivers or all their caregivers, maybe they were in a biological family, terrible, they went to an orphanage, terrible things happened, even people who had terrible experiences. In other words, there were no role models that they wanted to copy at all. They still have a part that is, or an aspect that's able to see their parts and, in time, feel compassion towards them. And parts can seem a bit scary, a bit strange, or you probably all recognize the experience of going to a cafe and part of us wanting to have a chocolate cake and part of us wanting to have a salad. Just, that's what we do, it's what we like. And the part that might want a salad could be a punishing part. It could be like, you must have a salad, you're too fat, or whatever. You don't deserve a cake. Or the cake part could actually be really kind. It could be like, you worked really hard, this is kind of celebrated, you're seeing your old friend, that's that. It could be kind, or it could be indulgent. It could be, I feel so lonely today, I'm going to eat cake. So it could be different. The point is we all have parts. And it's about becoming a healthy relationship with our parts. And one of the other things is often people feel, I would have certainly, as a teenager, felt very anxious about the idea of talking to myself. Everyone does. We all talk to ourselves. If you're playing tennis and you slam an ace, or you slam a ball into the net, probably a part of your brain will have an opinion. It will say something. It might say, you idiot, or you're the best tennis player ever lived, whatever it might say, or it might just say, well done, hey, you've been working on that serve and it's working now, wow. It can say all sorts of things. It will probably have an opinion. We're going to do a meditation where we explore a little bit about what our parts might be, make some recommendations. It's such an internal experience. It tends to be something we do a short meditation and then we'll discuss it in the part. But we won't be able to go into that so deeply because it's basically something normally you do for 60 minutes or 90 minutes with someone. And there are wonderful explorations you can do by yourselves and you feel like, oh, I do actually have a part that's really about worrying my money, or I have a part that's impatient with my children. Right? Okay, then great to explore. So in terms of evidence-based, this is a project, it's the longevity project. It's really founded in evidential basis, which is really important. Some things are difficult to evidence, and often the easiest things are easiest to evidence. So for example, in psychotherapy, CBT is often prescribed, not because it brings lasting change, but because it's easy to measure. Actually, more lasting change comes from more what's called depth psychology, more deeper kind of approaches. Like this, for example. But the clinical outcomes are, it has a very, very good effect on people with trauma. The people with PTSD and relational trauma can actually have really quite profound changes with their effects. Sensorimotor Psychotherapy. Again, this is more, it comes out of the understanding you can't just lie back and talk about your lover like in the old Freudian model. You can, you might get to a lot of understanding, some kind of liberation, quite possibly. But a lot of the experiences are going to just be in the body. They're not going to move or change as much as they can. So what's now understood more and more and more, there's a famous book called The Body Keeps the Score, many people know, written by a Dutch psychiatrist called Van der Belt. Hill and others, Ron Kurtz, Pat Ogden created Sensorimotor, and Richard, the guy guy from Schwartz from IFS, they're orienting more towards the relationship between mind and body. Of course, things like yoga is about the connection between mind and body. So in a way, one of the things I'm passionate about these kinds of tools is because they really are a meeting of Eastern and Western approaches. And personally, I think at least Western people, Western minds, well, Western cultures really benefit from Western psychotherapeutic models as well as all body-based things and shamanic things, and so that kind of stuff. I really think it helps to balance. I imagine actually it's not just Western, it's just modern society. Wherever that is. Okay, we're going to go into more body experience. I'm going to do a little bit of you can stay still just now. But this is what Adam says, the body always leads us home. We can simply learn to trust its wisdom. I would say the difference between intelligence and wisdom is wisdom is intelligence informed by feeling. Now, we probably all know people who are very clever, or maybe you can see in the public eye people who are incredibly clever, not terribly wise. Their emotional intelligence, which actually indicates usually much more success, even in things like business. Emotional intelligence is actually a greater predictor of business success and pretty much everything else that like humans. So it's about this relationship between feeling and thought. So we're going to do an exercise where we're going to try and understand our own capacity to resource ourselves with our bodies. So how many people here have heard of spiritual bypass or psychological bypass? Can you say what it is? So, remind us your name and you.
Jason.
Hi, Jason.
But I feel like I won't be the best person to explain this. Jackson would be better.
Oh, Jackson. Tell us.
Hi, Jackson.
Spiritual bypassing. I don't know how to really how to explain this. I'll pass this.
Sure. Maybe it's a little complicated to explain.
Yeah, it's complicated, but I would say maybe using the traditional spiritual tradition without taking it as complex or really using it really too fast or not enough. So it's
I
like
think the too fast, what was your name? Ellie. Ellie. So I would say this too fast thing is probably key. Is if, for example, you feel furious about something and you just do yoga, you might feel better. But actually the thing that you are furious about, we've discussed that emotions have a reason, they have an imperative, they want us to do something. Maybe we're actually really furious that the planet's burning. We want to join an environmental action group or learn how to do permaculture. Or maybe we're furious because our boss is really disrespectful. It's too much on our plate all the time. In other words, what we want to do in the resourcing is acknowledge the emotion and then include it in a resourcing of the body. This is not bypass. If we go to the body or go to the mind or go to mantra, and I love mantra, but if we're going, it'd be like changing the gears too hard, going to mantra instead of dealing with our deep sadness we have. We're just going to we're not going to have what's called, Pat Alton calls, organicity, sense of wholeness. That we can feel, we can do something with the peace that we have. We can do something with our spirituality. We can do something with our self-love. It can include loving the angry partner and stuff.
I think it needs some balance. I think it's earlier about being trained to suppress emotions and there's the existence of calm. You should feel like it exists.
People, yeah.
And then to go from thinking, I'm feeling calm and not angry because I'm suppressing my emotions, and then go to meditation and go, I feel calm.
Perfect example. Perfect example. People can often create kind of different psychic defenses that stop them feeling things. So one of the things is feeling special because we're enlightened. We're setting enlightened on the way, to enlightenment or whatever. And sometimes people, the ego will grasp that to be, I I'm special rather than I'm connected with something. Big subject, big subject. So,
It's not that.
what is your name?
Tico, sorry.
Tico.
It's not that counterproductive, like trying to substitute the emotion with another one.
It's completely counterproductive. Yes, because as Rumi is a 13th century poet, and I think like a parts work expert, he says every morning a new arrival, oppression, unmeaningness, and sadness, meet them at the door, not smiling. They may be, even if they are a crowd of sorrows, they may contain a message from the beyond. What he basically says, the mind is a guest house, as the poem, is if the door is shut, I can bang it on the door. If you hold it shut, it's exhausting. But if you welcome them in, say, come and have a cup of tea, anger, sadness, fear, loneliness, depression, then you're the captain of the ship. They happen to be one of the crew. This is basically part of it. So we're going to try to do that in our bodies. So if the slightly uncomfortable feeling came on, perhaps in the how are you, just what you see if you can just welcome that a little bit, notice where it is in the body. You don't not connect, that's also fine. And what I would love you to do is just to see if you can breathe into that part in a really deep way. And including that, I just want you, perhaps if you can feel that in your body, you might keep your hand on it. Sometimes I have like a little bit of twitching in my chest, or sometimes there's a little bit of old sadness. I look around, I orientate myself. What colours do you see? Just name the colours you see to yourself. Only the colours. We're not bypassing, including when you're looking for it. I invite you to stand. Squeeze the ground a little bit, it's nice fluffy carpet with the toes. See if you can continue this nice breathing and lengthen the spine. Lengthen the spine. Do some nice slow belly breaths. Bring your hand on your belly. And again, allowing this maybe unpleasant sensation to still be there. Smile in a way that feels right. And then I would like you to put your hands in a little space. There's enough room that you can stretch out your hands like this. It's a kind of taking space. And you can say this word, and it might seem a bit weird, but we're all doing it together. I say stop. 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 Just take that space around you, move around, and turn your hips. Stop. 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 Try different ways of saying stop. 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 See if you can really push out through your palms when you say that, like you're sending the energy of stop. Stop. Like you can do it without even speaking. Now I want you to try just pushing your hands together, feeling a sense of strength. And again, bringing your mind and allowing whatever that uncomfortable feeling was to be there too. Maybe it's just noticing the strength, feeling the strength. And then just bringing in a bit of movement, could be swaying, maybe rolling the hips. Don't need to keep on pushing if you don't want to. I'm just going to start walking around the room with this sense of feeling in space. I know it's quite a big room, so you can go around behind the tables. Just have a little explore, feeling this sense of you and your space. Continuing those nice deep breaths. And as you do those breaths, when you're breathing out, I would invite you to bring in a humming noise. Just bringing in a hum with the out breath. And again, playing with different tones of hum, the whole piano. Different levels of intensity. body. What do your feet feel about this hump? And I'd like you to start to move towards, if there's someone who's hum you like, you're kind of curious about, just find that person, move towards them, come in. And if you don't want to pair with someone, doing a short pair exercise, if you don't want to pair with someone, it's totally fine. Give them a little namaste, just to signal that you'd rather be alone, or maybe just not with that person, that's also okay. It's not personal, we have no idea what's going on with others. So finding a person, and we've got quite a big space, so I think it's okay to sit there or here, they'll tell us if not, and just sit down with this person. Just find a nice comfortable place. If you don't want to work with someone today, that's totally fine. Don't take it personally. If you haven't found a person yet, just see if someone else is wandering around and maybe wants to sit with someone. So in Sensorimotor, what we do is we go into the felt experience. We invite people to feel whatever they're feeling in the present moment experience. If, for example, they had a car crash, they might have a lot of tension in their shoulder, we're asking them in time to feel that tension in their shoulder, really feel it, to understand it. Maybe they realise that although the car crash happened in 1987, their shoulders are still kind of tense, especially when there's cars around. They can start to resource and actually start to lower it, and start to learn next time they're feeling tense. They can lower. Or maybe next time they bang on the door of their boss's office, they can resource a little bit, notice the tension they have and start to move it. We're not going to do a negative experience today. You're going to be invited to share a positive experience with your partner. The most positive experience you had recently, it could have been something big, it could have been a really delicious sandwich, or a really good couscous, something you enjoy. We'll share shortly with our partner. But we're going to do a particular thing. While you're listening, you're going to be hearing the content, what they're saying, but you're also going to be really watching the body and feeling the body. Because we can feel a lot with our senses as well. Feeling what the body is, and we're going to ask them to pause when we see something just particularly exaggerated. So one of my experiences when I was training is I come back to Chiang Mai and I had an accident climbing and I hurt my leg very badly. And the nurses at Shripad, big shout out to Shripad, they were so kind. And as I was describing this and describing being back in Chiang Mai, not in the Himalayas anymore, the hospitals weren't very good, I had this smile appearing on my left side of my face, like this, kind of faking it now. So the person asked me to pause there and just kind of explore this feeling of like this kind of left side smile and just feel what it was like and what the meaning of that is. And I guess the meaning was I felt really comfortable in Chiang Mai, but it helps you to go in. And one of the things they know about in positive psychology, they're recognizing more and more, is that savoring experience is really, really important for a good quality of life and a happy life. I don't know if anyone can relate, but I remember the first time, and I was about 27, where I saw a sunset and I just really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Before then I've been like, oh, what a beautiful sunset. Gosh, yes, it is beautiful, isn't it? The colours are so nice, but I didn't feel it. And you can feel the experience of sunset, or conversation, or music. You can feel that and go into that experience. And if we're talking about longevity, that's how we can expand in the enjoyable moments. So that's what we're going to do in this short practice. And my request is that someone, a brave volunteer, would be able to share something with me, and I will just kind of demonstrate how it's done. It's pretty straightforward. Does anyone feel okay to do that? Thank you. And it's Steph, isn't it?
Steph, yeah.
So Steph, can we sit here? So thank you so much, Steph. Just get a little round of applause. Thanks for helping us understand a bit more. So Steph, do you have a positive experience, big or small,
Yes.
recently or long ago in mind?
Today.
Today?
Today.
So you're all taking a breath.
Yes. So I went on a hike today, and one of my most favorite things to do is hike. And I remember I typically do hike. I enjoy being in nature where I feel peace and calm.
I noticed you're kind of doing this when you say that piece of calm. Is it like a breath?
Yeah.
You feel it in the chest?
I feel it's like I'm at this like where my nervous system is just at. It's where I feel like
Can you try hanging out there a little bit in this feeling? I want to just do this gesture. Maybe any movements that come with it. Just feeling this. Close your eyes.
So I was looking forward to that experience.
Yeah.
And so did this hike. Throughout the hike, it was a little tough for me, and I had this like whole feeling of being out of shape.
Good challenge.
The challenge, but also like the part is like when you get to the peak, it's kind of like happy. And so I was looking forward.
Notice you took a big deep breath when you did that.
So I was looking forward to that, and usually when I hike, I get that feeling. I love that. I was looking forward to that. But when I got to the top, I looked out over to the top, and I visited other people, and I get to experience that, like the feeling I get, like just that, and like I got to share that with other people. So it was a whole new like anticipating the like joy it would bring me to like get to the top of that lookout, all this like strenuous activity, like all this what I was wanting, right? And then also to like see other people and like get to share that with people from all over the world, right? Not just like from where I'm from, like other people, other experiences I have. So it was incredible.
I noticed you're kind of moving around in this quite expansive way. I wonder if it would be like to hang out there a little bit, just in terms of movement, just this movement you were doing, you were sharing, how you were. Would you like to try that a little bit with your eyes closed? Just kind of maybe connect with the feeling. Be there with me.
Kind of like you feel that
Yeah.
having a little like weird effect.
So that audience. Once again, you're being quite expansive. Your eyes are really shut. Yeah. Okay, thanks very much, Steve. Okay, thank you so much. Did you notice anything about what I did or said that was a bit different to a regular conversation? Might even feel like interrupting. Okay, so there are cues to go back into the body, physical things. Yes, good. And what was I saying anything that helped do that? Or?
Feedback?
It was a little tricky because feedback, yeah. What kind of feedback was that?
I felt like you were doing like body feedback, like trying to replicate whatever she is doing.
So I was mirroring. Yeah, thank you. And also giving feedback in terms of naming things that were happening and gesturing. And also checking. And children need to have their parents' mirror experience. When that's how we process emotions, actually someone understanding our emotions. We start to process it. Children who are not mirrored obviously don't understand their emotions. And actually, adults, we can tend to process emotions by ourselves. Children basically can't. And many of us did not have parents who were able to mirror our emotions, or maybe didn't care, or maybe actually gave us lots of emotions of their own without listening, feeling our emotions. So in this exercise, we're going to use a couple of cues where we're going to have to be a little daring and kind of interrupt. not to ask a question, but just to name something we saw. And it could be something like that. I noticed that when you say you were sharing, there's this expansive thing that happens. Hard to see? Is it hard to see? So I've just written, I noticed that when you say X, Y, Z happens. I noticed when you talk about meeting other people at the top, there's a sense of expansion in your body. Maybe your eyes will shine. And when we get them to agree to stay there, we hang out there. And Steph, you did so well to do that in front of everyone else. Because we are human, we are social animals, and being on the spot is definitely some a little extra tension. When you're in a partner, hopefully it will be a little bit easier. What I would like you to do is choose one of you to go first. And I'm just going to share a positive experience. It's going to be about 2.5 minutes. And just get the other person and to interrupt and say, oh, I noticed you're really smiling there. Oh, I noticed your eyes are shining a little bit. I noticed, so if someone was describing a sad experience, they might start to be doing this. A happy experience, they might start to be doing this. And if we are able to kind of dial in and tune into that sense of, gosh, I am really happy about that conversation with my husband, then we can kind of enjoy it. Does that make sense? Yeah. You have a question? Great question. So when it comes to trauma, it helps people understand and name and process the trauma. So when, for example, we get tense, we probably don't like feeling tense. We kind of avoid feeling tense. We might drink alcohol so we relax. We get to a party, feel tense, quick, have a glass of wine. So for that, it's to help us relax and learn to notice curiosity and kind of okayness of feeling what we feel. When it's a pleasant experience, it's just to kind of take me on sort of, oh, what a lovely sunset. Kind of, wow, what a really beautiful sunset. And then we can start to feel a bit more pleasure and gratitude. In other words, this is what's called resourcing. We're resourcing into hopefully enjoying our lives. And when we meet with negative emotion, challenging emotion, to also learn to have a bit more resilience, that we can maybe feel it a bit more rather than react in a way that might help us avoid feeling. Does that make sense? Yeah, like what's the Okay, so if one person wants to go first, just say so. Otherwise, let's say it's the person with the who came from furthest away today. And I'll ring, guys. I'll ring a bell in about 2.5 minutes, and you will start to close.
I think it's okay for me to be first or second. Do you want to? You want to maybe you could start first. Yeah.
So, I was thinking like, what is it? It's not
Don't be afraid to interrupt. So we are doing an exercise.
I see your eyes open, like you are
Starting to wrap up in about 30 seconds. About 30 seconds to wrap up this part.
I know, we still
Yeah, I think it's like an energy flowing. You are sometimes open up, sometimes more like flat, yeah, flat flow, and sometimes like more exciting. Yeah, you did the aesthetic and the body.
So now the observer, please share your experience of this. Please, as an observer, please share your experience. So the observer will say what it was like to listen to this story. What it was like to be the observer. Please tell your partner.
I give you my feedback.
Yeah, maybe there was something you noticed, didn't have time to say, or what it was like, or maybe it was difficult to interrupt, or just sharing with you.
I'm a little bit nervous. Yeah, because of the face-to-face, and it's okay. Just because not very familiar, so I feel a little bit nervous. Like here you really enjoying the essence and how
I think it's
Now starting to close that.
very happy.
I know, but it's like
Just both dropping into, just going to have a short bit of silence. Just both dropping into shared silent space together. Taking a few deep breaths. Some of that resourcing. It might be that you press your hands together again, that feels good. Or just coming back to these soft, deep, soft belly breaths. And in about 3 breaths, the person who was listening will now share their story, their positive experience with the other person. So if you are the observer, you are now telling your story, the other person will be observing.
no, you can stay here. Just ignore my nervous. Yeah. When I heard about the have there's a period, there's a time that I always I think it's positive. I think I just maybe memorize it. Yeah. Because I need to memorize and I need to use English to tell. Yeah. So I need use some mind work. Yeah. And I feel patient with my daily. And I think it's like sometimes it's very early in the morning, and sometimes like it's sunset time, because at this time actually, I give up session later. Okay.
But you are really trying to memorize it.
Yeah, it's long ago because it's when I was a child.
Yeah, I can see this also, like trying to memorize. Not really
Starting to wrap that up, and then the observer sharing their experience. What was it like to observe that person? What was difficult? Starting to wrap this up, and then the observer sharing.
But later I gave up patience because the fishes they are like living creatures, so I give it up. But before, I think the most part I love vision is that you really concentrate. You feel really calm inside, very peaceful, and you just watch the water, and concentrate. And sometimes everything is really beautiful, nature surrounding. And I'm very good at vision. Yeah.
Do you remember how many questions?
I'm looking for that kind of
maybe 20 or more. Yeah. And then I think I also I think about other things.
Yes, my share. So what about his body? So let's bring it to what did you?
I also think about that because I have just been here for like a month ago. Yeah, in Bali. 2 months. I don't know. I stayed there for like
What we're trying to do is help him understand his experience by naming the physical source. So you can feel it in your body now. Great. What did you see specifically? What was his eyes? What were they? Starting to finish. Finding a way to thank your partner. Could be just a thank you, could be a hug if they're open to a hug, check. And then come and sit down and come in closer.
Thank you.
And come closer so we can all discuss together.
Thank you. Russia. I'm from China. I think I just reached my goal maybe five more days. Yeah, and I go to Thai. Yeah, I think that's the best.
Guys, it might be that you've made a new friend and you want to hear more about this story or more about the context, and you can exchange contacts later. Curious how that was for you. Did it feel weird? Was there any things that was what was it like to be listened to that way? Let's start with what was it like to be heard in that way? Did you just want to tell your story? Was it frustrating? Or when people mentioned, tried to direction to go into the body, was that effective? Was there anything that worked well or didn't work so well? What's that like?
I think for me it was like intently listening to someone and like intently looking for those cues. And like everyday conversations sometimes we miss the subtleties of that. And so it's kind of recognizing that as well.
So you noticed that as the observer or as the listener or both?
Both. A little bit of both.
And what was it like to be observed more for the whole of you? Or listen to you intently?
Yeah, I think more like cognizant of like that, like you're actually paying attention to the things you're saying, but also your movements and all those other like smaller things that it's challenging to know that you do see that, especially if you grow like your trauma is in a place like that wasn't, like you weren't seen. That feeling vulnerable, like truly being seen, where you're not used to being seen.
Really nice, thank you. And that's, just name that, and thank you for, being vulnerable with a stranger. And that's why we chose a positive experience rather than see a challenging experience. But it takes something, we might feel a little exposed when we feel really witnessed. So,
No, my name is Gabriela.
Okay.
And I realized now, and before I also knew it, that when the person is able to express feelings and really connect to the body, then the conversation feels more alive to me. Like I can really feel what is happening. Otherwise, it's very mental, and I disconnect from the conversation, and then I come back. But when the person is really connected to what they're feeling and they're expressing from inside, then I'm totally there.
Okay, so you felt more connection as the listener as well.
Exactly.
Interesting. So listening was important.
Listening is just, it's happening because it's easier, yes, because so much is happening in the body, right? It's like, it's not only.
Thank you. And you're nodding. Something you should say. What was your experience there?
As a listener or as a
Either.
for me, it was very helpful when someone observed my physical movement or reaction in that present moment to discover what's going on in my body, in my mind. So it was very helpful to get that kind of feedback. And also when I listen to someone, not just with my mind, not just with my ears, but with my whole body and my eyes. It was very easier to be in the present moment with her. So that was my experience.
Okay, that's really nice. Thank you for articulating that so well. So it sounded like the physical cues helped you understand your experience better.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you also felt maybe closer, more enjoyment in the connection, in the dynamic with the other person.
In that moment.
In that moment. Sure. Thank you. Any other experiences? Yes. Sorry,
Yes.
what is your name again?
My name is River. I'm from China.
Hi, River.
Yes, that's the. everyone. Just right now, the Israeli friend have a conversation with me, and first I was the speaker. He is the observer, and he just told me what he got from my explanation. So I feel myself be figured out because when I speak fluently, I didn't notice that my story is combined of two parts. One part is under pressure, another part is very relaxed. But he figured out that my body language and my words just tell the secret, tell the nature of myself. So from his response, I can understand myself much better. Although I told him whole story, I didn't notice that one is under pressure and the other is out of the pressure. But as a successful observer, he told me, and he helped me to just look at myself from the God's perspective or from a certain perspective. Then this kind of conversation can help me to understand myself much better than before.
That's wonderful. So
Yes.
really,
Thank you very much.
Yeah, sounds like very listening to our thank you, Rilo. And it sounds like you were able to take a bigger perspective on your
Yes.
experience.
Yes, because when many years ago, some of my friends told me that he felt that he stayed in India as a diplomat for several years. So he said when he was in India, he found that there's a different one beyond him. For example, now everybody is sitting here.
Just to interrupt, because it seems like going slightly beyond the topic about maybe a spiritual experience.
Yes, yes, yeah.
But it sounds like you experience a sense of a greater container of your human experience.
Yes. Another perspective, just looking at us.
Nice.
That's not only me, but another me.
Thank you. This will help us move into the IFS in a second. Maybe one more share, and then if you wants to share your experience.
I think also for me it was easier to listen to share. I feel when I was sharing, I felt like more, maybe more educated and maybe self-aware of my movements because I know someone.
Self-conscious.
Yes, self-conscious. But that's partly because of my current insecurity and situations where I feel very good. It was harder. But seeing someone else.
So I'm wondering if at least maybe get a little insight to your understanding. Perhaps that maybe some of the feelings were uncomfortable, but perhaps it gave you some more information about your state.
I think, but maybe also because part of like my room is also fear of being seen like from something like
Yeah.
so it's like maybe
Sometimes it's uncomfortable to be seen.
either one, yeah.
Makes sense. Has anyone got a burning one that they want to share? Experience? Okay. So thanks very much for trying something a bit different. You could try with your friends. It could be even with like someone telling a sad story. It's like, oh, I noticed you really take a deep breath at this point. Seems like it was a really tough day. Because ultimately, what are all our words for? We want to convey our experience, right? Our experience is so big. Words can never quite do it justice, but being felt is quite powerful. Well, we're going to do the IFS. We might finish like 5 to 10 minutes late. That'll be okay with everybody. You have to leave early. Thank you and sorry for running over. Please feel free to message me if you have any more information. We also send slides and resources and things like that. Okay, internal family systems.
Richard Schwartz, our inner parts contain valuable qualities and our full self knows how to heal, allowing us to become integrated and whole with all parts. So, what Richard Schwartz discovered in terms of family systems, he was a family therapist, where family therapist, if you know what that is, it's when like maybe a kid, there's a boy, he doesn't need the boy, he refuses to go to school. Some therapy might just do with the boy, some therapists will get the whole family in to discuss what's happening. They realise that the boy is, when the boy starts to speak, the father gets quite aggressive towards the boy. He's angry, the boy not going to school. And maybe a brother kind of steps in to kind of protect him all the time. Maybe by changing the subject, maybe by arguing with dad, whatever it might be. So this is how family systems function. There are parts that will protect the more vulnerable ones. What Richard Schwartz realized in his study of his clients is that we do this internally too. We have protectors and we have exiles. We have parts that are really vulnerable and we have other parts that try and protect those. And we all have a self that kind of can be aware of it, hold this in. Come back to that in a second. So I'll give an example. Say there's a kid at school